Hello, and welcome to the 10th episode of the SkillShine25 podcast. My name is Veer, a local high schooler, and I'm joined by my friend Vaughn. Today we're meeting with Mr. Bailey Moore and his friend Tyler, or coworker Tyler.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, can I get your last name?
Kornhouser.
Kornhouser.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard that one before.
It's a fun one, yeah.
A mortgage professional who helps families through the homeownership journey, starting with pre-approvals all the way to closing day. Bailey has a unique story. He started out in college, wasn't sure if the traditional path was right for him, and ended up finding a career that he says was the best decision of his life. Bailey and Mr. Tyler will let you introduce yourselves.
Sounds good. I'm Tyler, from Fort Mill, lived in the Charlotte area my whole life. Got into mortgages fresh out of school, and been kicking it ever since. So,
I'm Bailey. You just heard a little bit of my story. Born and raised in Charlotte. Went to college for a short little while and realized to take a jump and join the mortgage industry. So, yeah.
All right, so I think before we begin, can you guys kind of tell us how you both met and became partners of this this business?
For sure. So we have a very similar story actually. Both of our parents are in the industry, and from a young age we kind of were watching from the back seat and thought it would be something we were interested in. So when the time came, we jumped into it. I started a little before Bailey. I got a few years on him, but after he left school and came into the industry, we joined up together and then started taking it from there. So
Sounds good.
Yeah. I reached out last year over the summer when I started questioning whether or not I wanted to stay, and grabbed lunch, and he walked me through kind of what an average day looked like, and how you solving puzzles and whatnot, and it really appealed to me, and that's what was kind of the deciding factor to end up jumping in.
So, I know, going off a little bit, we actually met at the Mint Hill Chamber. Are you from the Mint Hill region or just gravitated toward that area?
So I'm actually in Midland, so I drive through Mint Hill every day to come here, and that's kind of how I got associated with the Mint Hill Chamber of Commerce.
Perfect.
So going back to what you guys were saying about how he walked you through the average day, what does the average day look like for you when you're helping families buy a home here?
Take it away right there.
no day is the same really.
Right.
Every day you got to have good time management, good schedule. Time blocking is huge, but it's different between talking to different clients and also reaching out, getting meetings with potential partners that we could also work with to get more clients. We're mainly a word of mouth business, so getting out and talking to people is the best way to get the word of mouth out there. So day to day, it could be anywhere from coffee meetings to sitting behind the desk and running numbers, or going to events after hours, and really just trying to build your network and seeing who you could find and how you could help them, but how they could also help you. So
And me and Veer have been learning, when we first started this, it's all about connections, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just it's who you know and who they know, and that's really how you can expand. So it's just great to hear that from you. And it's just a resounding thing we've been hearing.
And they say your network is your net worth. So
literally,
That's a good one.
And we kind of mentioned in your career, everything really begins with the pre-approval process, right? So why is that step so important? Because a lot of people think that's just a small thing, right? I'm obviously gonna get approved. Because I don't know if you guys have watched the Incredibles movie, but Mr. Incredible, he's always approving everyone, right? He's not really looking about their stats or anything. So why is that step so important? And can you kind of explain you had to reject someone, what kind of goes through that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Well, pre-approval is very important. A lot of people don't realize at the beginning of their home buying journey, they normally reach out to a real estate agent first, and they don't really know how to get their financing straight. So, at the end of the day, you could say you make 6 figures and you've got a 900 credit score, and the agent may or may not buy that. And at the end of the day, you want to get pre-approved because there's a lot of money that goes on the line. So if you don't get pre-approved initially, you could end up losing a lot of money, as well as not realizing what you're signing up for, right? So you could be making a lot and have great credit, and you see a house and you're like, oh, I love this house, and the house turns out to be a little more expensive than you thought monthly, and that's why getting pre-approved is a huge step, because you could see your maximum you could afford, but just because you can afford the maximum doesn't mean you should be able, or you should go for the maximum. You still want to be able to live within your means and be able to do other things that you like to enjoy besides just paying for a home. If you've got kids or pets or like traveling, you want to be able to budget that in as well, and not just push your max spending limit on the home itself. So.
Right. So I guess what you're trying to say, like, you'd probably agree, like, you always want to be like comfortable, right, with your budget, and you always want to have like extra funds, right, and just in case something happens, like some emergency funds. Because I think a lot of people forget, actually, especially me, because I'd be like, I'm a lifeguard, right? So when I get paid, I usually just like use all my money, and then I don't have any money for the rest, right? But I think it's important. It's all about finances, especially like the older you get, the more responsibilities you have. So
Absolutely,
it's definitely very important.
And that's why you don't want to be right there pushing your debt to income ratios. Which is one thing we look at a lot. And a lot of people like to try and push it, but it's not always the best idea if you don't have anybody else working, bringing in income or anything like that. So it's always important to be aware of what you can afford and what makes you the most comfortable too. So.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I feel like there's two ways you can go about this once you get past that pre-approval step. You can be like a friend to them, right? Gain a relationship with them, kind of feel how they're feeling, make them feel comfortable. Or you can kind of shove it in their face and then you don't know if you're going to get that deal or not. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
So what are some ways that you've been able to make these families feel comfortable with their big financial decisions?
That's a great question. I'd honestly say being available is the best thing, whether it's the weekend or 9 o'clock at night or whatever the time. Like I said, there's a lot of money goes into these transactions, and you want to be sure that you're answering questions and being on top of everything for them, and showing them that you actually care beyond the 9 to 5 hours where a lot of people, they're working those 9 to 5 hours as well. So it's like if you want to show them that you're there for them, you have to be able to be available more than just those 9 to 5 hours, because like I said, they're also working. So home buying is something that people do after work hours.
Yeah, for sure.
They can't be working and looking at homes, right? So being available is one of the things. Checking in, happy birthdays, happy anniversaries. If they're going through hard times, we actually have a charity that inside Fairway that'll send care packages to people going through hard times. So there's a lot to do with just making that connection initially, rather than just saying, hey, here's the numbers. Go find a home and then give me the contract. So
you guys are really going like above and beyond just like the standard office hours, right? Just like, I think you guys, like I just can see you're building like really like meaningful connections with them, right? Just like more of like you're like friends to them than it's just like a business negotiation.
Exactly.
So as we talk about the pre-approval process, then obviously there's closing day, which is probably you guys' like favorite part, right? So can you guys like share a story or like a moment that stuck with you, like a specific like family or a specific house, and like the impact it had on you guys, or like kind of like you made a moment during those, if you guys have any of that?
Yeah.
I'll jump on real quick because I was actually on a call last night with a first-time home buyer they're my first closing, which is tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And on the phone we were talking and we were going through the final CD, which kind of outlines, the mortgage and whatnot. And I kept on saying, like referring to as we, like when we get to the closing table tomorrow, when we do this. And then she stopped me and she was like, oh my goodness, are you going to be at the closing? And it was just something about how excited she was that, we started the process together and we were finishing it. And it was 8:30 last night. And, it was cool just to see that we'd gone through the entire process together and now we were closing it out tomorrow together. So that's kind of one of my favorite moments so far since I jumped in.
Wow. So it seems like very like fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because actually before this, I thought this was more just like kind of like boring or like.
No,
before,
fair enough.
Now like that, I'm talking to you guys, I can see this is actually like very fulfilling because you are like actually making like a direct impact in their lives, right?
Exactly.
Because it's probably the home we're gonna be in for at least like a few years for sure. A lot of people can start their families in this home, stuff like that. So it really shows how like things like this can just go a long way in people's lives.
Definitely. Yeah. My first deal myself, it was a single mom, immigrant to the country. She had a little bit of credit issues, so we worked together, got her credit scores up to inside the down payment assistance range. She found a nice house for her and her 3 kids.
Wow.
And she ended up in a home for, I think it was like less than $1,000. So
wow, that's great for her.
Yeah, someone who never thought she would be able to own a home is now a homeowner in a nice neighborhood, got her kids in nice schools, and just living the dream. So it's really cool to see the impact in people's lives from zero to hero almost. So
basically, honestly.
Yeah. A home, right? There's a difference between a house and a home, and really it's about what you get out of that.
Definitely.
Yeah. And rewinding a little bit, you were in college when you realized the traditional route wasn't where you wanted to go. What was that aha moment that kind of shifted your mind and shifted your thought process?
So taking it even further back, in high school, I struggled with attendance as well. And in my mind, going to college was going to be a fresh start, and I was going to show up, and I was going to do everything, and it was going to be, the perfect everything.
Right.
And then that first semester was, I was showing up to all my classes. It was really good. I felt really engaged, but then I fell into my same old habits where it was, almost too easy, just showing up to class, doing, filling out paperwork, smacking answers down on a piece of paper and walking out. It was just too easy, and I wanted a challenge. And so I started working 2 jobs at Waffle House and Dairy Queen because it was like, now it was hard to go to class because I was tired or I was trying to fix things in my schedule. And then I was talking to my father, who's the branch manager here, and I was kind of telling him that and whatnot. And I was like, I just want something that challenges me, and college is not that. And I'm doing all these other things that are challenging me so that I go to college. And so then we started talking about the mortgage industry, and that's whenever I had the conversation with Tyler, and then hearing about, the puzzle orientation and the, not everything's the same, and it's not a 9 o'clock I sit down at a desk and I'm pushing numbers and clicking on keys until 5 o'clock and then I clock out. Instead it was, mapping out different people and plans and going from events to, whatever goes throughout a day. That was my big aha moment. Was having that switch between, it's not just a 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, but it's, everything in between, and it's, making A, B, and C all connect.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, people take that time they have doing something for granted, right? People, especially for us as high schoolers, we look at summer break like, oh, this is a time to relax, to enjoy. But then you get to some of those days where you're like, man, I really want to do something, and then I'm bored at home.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where what you
100%.
were kind of feeling. And if I had to ask, were you involved in any sports during your high school or extracurriculars?
Does he look that athletic?
I was just wondering.
I was not. I went to the gym all throughout high school and college, but when I had to go with sports, I was not. Yeah. And then I was not an honor roll or something like that.
Well, no, the reason I asked that is because that's one way to fill your time, right? A lot of these kids do something outside of school, and a gym is the same thing. Right? That was one way you were like, hey, after school I'm gonna go to the gym. Then I'll figure out what I'm doing afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes sense.
Wow, that's just and a lot of people like that I know personally, right? Especially parents, they always want their kids to do the traditional thing, make a plan right now in high school and follow that plan all the way towards college and then get that job, you know what I'm saying? Just set your life from here, right?
Exactly.
But as we can see, is that sometimes it's possible, but most times it's is it really? Because planning your life from the very beginning is you can never account for the future. You obviously probably in high school never thought you were going to get here, right?
I did not know.
Especially when you're our
I don't
age.
think most people think they're going to
get
mortgages until they're in it.
But as we can see, this career is very fulfilling for you both.
Definitely.
So it just shows how I'm not saying you should never have a plan, but you can always just take the one thing at a time, right? Because especially me, I always just try to plan everything out for a long period of time. But as we can see, it's okay just to take things slow and just always depend on yourself, right?
Yeah. Plans change too. So you never want to get too far down the road and realize you're stuck in some spot. So.
So this is kind of going back to what I said. So for students who are feeling stuck or unsure of their path, so what do you think, how could your story teach them about exploring other opportunities that might not come straight out of college or from a major or something?
I went to college.
I was going to say, let's hear it.
So I saw a podcast the other day. I can't remember who it was, but he said if you don't want to do the traditional college route, find a mentor and mentor them for 2.5, 3 years until you know the ropes. He was like, if you want to be a podcaster, find a good podcaster. 2 years, 3 years, learn the ropes and figure out if that's something you really want to do and dive into it. Obviously, college isn't for everybody, but it's not for everybody too. So, I mean, if you're interested in something, always give it a shot. You never know unless you try. So it's important to just rip the Band-Aid and at least dip your toes a little bit and see if you like it, and kind of move from there. I got so deep into college that I was so close to the finish line. I just went ahead and finished. But looking back, I could have done something very similar to what Bailey did, and would have been totally okay with that too. But at the end of the day, you just got to try it. You'll never know unless you try. So,
So being in the mortgage industry, right? I feel like a lot of people are uneducated about what goes on in the actual process, what it actually is about. So what is one of the biggest myths you would like to clear up about mortgages that you think a lot of people don't understand?
The biggest one definitely is you need 20% down and perfect credit.
800 credit score, 20% down.
That's definitely not true. Like I said, my biggest first story, less than $1,000 in a home. There's ways to make it affordable, and also easy. A lot of the times people are like, wow, I didn't even realize that we're closing because the whole process was so smooth and streamlined.
Right.
A lot of people think it's supposed to be difficult, which it's not. Just really don't need too much to get the ball rolling. And just, like I said, ripping that Band-Aid off. A lot of people try and overanalyze and overthink everything. But home ownership is much better than renting, and just
for sure.
getting into it is something that we like to educate people on. And there's always options and plans, and if you have the goal and you have a plan, then we can get you there. So that's a big one, I'd say, is I can't afford a home also.
Right.
A lot of people don't think they can, but there's plenty of programs out there that'll help with the down payment, and then as well as seller credits for closing costs, and there's ways to make it very affordable and exciting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of different scenarios, right, of different people that you interact with. You really got to put yourself in their shoes.
Exactly.
Right. So from the business side, how do you stay on the same wavelength as the realtors and the families when you're trying to close out a deal?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because obviously, like the realtors, they're gonna want to get the deal done, right?
Yeah.
But you also want to make sure the families are getting their actual needs satisfied, right? Not just like the monetary gain. So
exactly.
How do you like keep that like level of compassion on one side, but like the level of just like business minded on the other side, basically?
For sure. I like to keep things fun.
Right.
Try not to be too businessy. You can be professional without being businessy. So I like to keep it exciting. It's important for the agents to know that they're going to get paid, but they also need to work for the client. So just being constant communication, always available again, and collaboration. Sometimes I put everybody in a group message together, and that way we could all bounce ideas and stay on the same page. But really the working together is hit or miss. Some agents are really good at communication, some are not the best. So it really just depends, but as long as we do right by the client, then everything else should fall into place nicely. Because the financing is a big piece to home buying, so being on top of that is a good way to really make sure the transaction stays smooth and fast and efficient. So.
Right. Sounds great. And I know a lot of high schoolers, like right now, they dream about like going to entrepreneurship or like finance. So what like skill set do you think like these students should just like start developing early to be like successful in a field such as yours?
I would say creative thinking.
Yeah.
Not putting yourself in a box.
Right.
Or limiting, the scenarios, because like you said earlier, like every person and every situation is a little bit different. So you can't just do the exact same thing over and over and over again. You have to make little tweaks. So just keeping it open-minded, even going throughout high school, and just not putting yourself in a box or limiting, ways to figure out a problem.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get stuck with doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it really gets boring, right? That's why you're seeing a lot of people that nowadays they don't stick with the same job. They'll go hey, I'm gonna stick here for a couple of years and I'll switch up. How do you make sure that you're still focused on what you want to accomplish without getting burnt out?
That's a good one. So I feel like right now in our careers, at least, we're still pretty young, and it's kind of hard to burn us out because we have a go get it mentality. But staying in touch with your personal side as well. Taking trips, hanging out with friends, doing things you like is always important, and there's ways to integrate that into the business as well. Like I'm in a golf networking group with a bunch of different other real estate gurus, so mixing personal and business can sometimes be a good thing.
Really?
Yeah, so like golfing once a month with all those guys is good. Social interaction as well as
for sure.
networking, but it's also doing something I like, so it's like a way to also have my own time but still get out and work and meet new people. So
Right, and a lot of people, I think they forget like the passion because of why they started, right? Because I was like talking with someone before, and he's like going to like medicine or something, and then he has like a huge interest in cars or like the automobile industry. But he said like he never followed that because he didn't want to lose his passion. But I think it's great how you said like it's just always like you have to mix fun into the business, or it's just gonna stay a business. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like going outside the box and making sure, like, just like keeping it fun and stuff. So,
we have another guy in the office who's a big car guy. So he goes to a bunch of car meets and all that fun stuff, and he gets a lot of business from that. But he's also enjoying himself the whole time. So it's a good way to get out and meet people, but still give time to yourself and give yourself what you deserve as well.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that a little bit, I'm just looking at the table and I'm seeing some Legos and I'm seeing some Star Wars. Are those two big things?
Oh yeah, for sure. I got a good Star Wars Legos collection at home.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's like people say Legos are for kids, and I'm sure you guys have seen lately that Legos have just been blowing up.
Yeah,
so
they've been
like,
coming up.
Yeah.
And it's not even kids anymore. It's like young adults.
Exactly. Yep. Well, the kids can't afford it, so all the young adults are stepping in, and they're like, okay, I'll get this. But just finding little passions like that and staying on them and not forgetting who you are as a person is always very important.
Yeah.
Right. And also make sure you keep like your younger dreams and stuff with you. Right.
Exactly. Definitely.
So as we're talking about like your younger self, what is like one thing you would say now that you know to your younger self when you're first starting out? Just like one piece of advice that you would give your younger self, basically.
I'd say start. I went through I started a landscaping company with my buddy, and it was probably one of the most informational and influential period of my life. But I got into what's called analysis paralysis, where I tried to sit down and write out everything and figure it out before I had even started.
That's what, right.
So I was trying to draw a perfect circle, but I didn't even know how the circle was going to work. So it took about 8 months before me and my buddy just went out there and started knocking on doors and figuring out as we just were doing it. So I wish that I would have just, instead of analyzed and overanalyzed everything, just get out there and do it and figure it out as I went.
Yeah, I like how you said that analysis paralysis. I heard that before, but it's just like that's like really interesting because I think a lot of people, they have like these cool like $1 billion ideas, right? And they're just like, it's gonna stay an idea, like they never put into action. And it's always like like a lot of these like products that we have today, it's always like the people that are just like, it's like these random things like I'm just gonna try it out, and it really changes like the entire future for the entire world. So it's just crazy.
I think it's partially because of that fear of going outside of the circle, right? You wanted to do that perfect circle, you planned it all out, but then you get scared once it doesn't go that direct path.
For sure,
naturally isn't gonna go.
Oh yeah.
I think it was Kevin Hart that said, if dreams are left on the pillow, then they're worthless.
Right.
Because there's a difference between dreams and goals.
Right.
So I like that one.
Yeah, for sure. Just honestly starting, because you never know unless you try. So if you're thinking about doing something, like you said, the people inventing crazy stuff. One of my best friends has the Notes app, and he just puts cool ideas that he thinks would be awesome inventions, but he's never gone anywhere with them. And then 2 or 3 years later, they're being developed by someone else.
That's
and
crazy.
They end up becoming really big things, and it's like, dude, you should have hopped on that when you thought of it. So,
wow, that's just crazy.
Yeah, just trying and getting started really is probably the biggest thing. and you never know. I mean, failing isn't failing; it's learning. So it's okay to fail, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you guys would probably attest to like, do you guys like have any like, not like failures, but like parts like something you want to share to like just like the people about like how you turn a failure into success later on, kind of, or like how you learn from that failure.
Yeah,
that makes
definitely.
more sense.
Well, talking about an actual failure, to be able to be licensed for mortgages, you have to take a huge nationwide test, and it is
hard.
It is not an easy test for sure. Yeah, I think the pass rate's like 50% or something.
Really? So only half the people pass. That's crazy.
On the first try.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So took me a while to get through that, but it's not something that I used to. Once I failed, I wasn't like, oh, I'm quitting. I give up.
Exactly.
Like it's like, okay, well, take a day, gather your thoughts, and then the next day hit it harder and keep trying and don't give up on it. But that's a legitimate failure scenario. Trying to think of like a non-test related failure.
I think one failure that turned into a huge life lesson for me is almost the exact same thing. I failed at the nationwide test on my first try too, and my entire life, all through elementary, middle, high school, and college, I never studied.
Right.
Like if I was going up to a test, I could usually just sit down and skate by with a passing grade. I never really had to sit down and study and work towards it. And so when I failed it that first time, I was like, and I failed by one question.
Really?
You have to get a 75, and I had a 74. And I remember going home that day, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to be in the mortgage industry, I can't just skate by, just barely passing. I have to give it my all. And so that kind of failure was what pivoted my mindset, and I learned how to study, and I sat down and I really worked towards something for probably one of the first times in my life.
And a lot of people, like, they don't like getting, like, their ego hurt, right? Like, they don't like failing, especially when they think they're going to pass too, or, like, they're going to succeed, and then they, like, don't want to fail. So it's just, like, I think it's, like, important how you both said. It's just, like, if you fail, just, like, stay calm, keep collected, and then try again.
Yeah.
So. And then just, like, I know we talked about the past, but, like, looking ahead into the future of the mortgage industry, is there, like, any, like, trends or things that you guys are excited about, or something that students as us can pay attention to, like, kind of address in the future type of thing?
Yeah, AI. I'm sure you guys are aware of it. AI is huge. Everything's becoming more automated nowadays, so it's makes our jobs a little easier, but it's also getting to a point where it's like it's going to start replacing people.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have been hearing for sure.
Yeah, so your conventional mortgages and stuff like that are going to start being
streamlined.
Yeah, very much so. So it's going to be a matter of adjusting to the new times. Like always, you learn new technology. But I don't think we've ever been at a place in the world where technology is going to start replacing people in a way. So staying on top of that, making yourself unique and stand out in a way that if someone didn't want to work with a robot, you're there and you're confident and you know everything still. But making yourself available in other ways that a computer might not be able to analyze as well. Like the tough credit people, a computer might not be able to say, hey, well, if you do this and this, then you'll be able to buy a home in 2 months or something like that. So just staying ahead of the game, I'd say, is very important in terms of that AI world, and making sure that you are going to be different than everybody else at the end of the day, for sure.
And I like what you said, staying unique, because like AI can probably replace like the busy tasks and stuff, but they can't like replace those connections that you guys have made with your clients for sure. So it's all about just like going above and beyond, and not just like, doing the bare minimum, because otherwise for sure AI could do the bare minimum.
Exactly.
They cannot just go above and beyond you guys.
So do you guys mainly do over the phone relationships, or is there any aspect of this that is in person?
Ooh, I would say it's kind of a mix. I try to follow up with a lot of my realtor partners, and I was at lunch just the other day with a good buddy of mine. And then meeting people, I would prefer to meet in person, and not just because it's more of like a personal connection.
Right, exactly.
So I try to meet with people in person, but I also, I can't spend all day meeting a client and writing everything down. It's a little bit easier to kind of connect and talk via the phone on that one. So it's just kind of situational, but it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I will say that's why we like to go to our closings, because most of the time we don't get to actually meet the client in person until the closing day, because we're not out there showing them houses and taking them different places. So that's why we like to go to the closing and get that personal touch. But for the most part, the agents, if they're in the local area, it's always great to meet up. But if not, at least a phone call or a Zoom or something along those lines to build a little deeper connection.
And on the business side of this, you can't, obviously, in order to run, you can't have just mortgage officers. So what are some of the other skills and other people that you need and have to run and make this
That's
a
great question. We have a whole team besides us that helps get you from application to the closing day. We have a disclosures team that specializes in sending out disclosures. Once you're fully under contract, you get the disclosures, and at the end of the day, if those are off by a little bit, we can get in trouble, and that's why it's very important for her job. We also have our processors, who are pretty much our liaison with the underwriters, which is another role as the underwriters. And all these people work together to get you from the initial application to the approval to the clear to close. And then we have a closer as well, who steps up and drafts all the final closing documents, talks with the attorneys. So there's lots of different parts that get you from A to B. And for the most part, you don't see any of them besides us. But that team behind us is really the only reason why we can get you to the closing table at the end of the day.
So it's definitely like a lot of behind the scenes things that probably a lot of homeowners don't even realize goes into their like deals and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because they probably just talk to you guys and they think you're handling everything, but there's a lot more of the team that goes into that.
The team behind us does more than we would do, I would say. So
100%.
Yeah, they work hard.
So it's all about, like, I guess for like this business, it's all about collaboration, right?
Definitely.
And teamwork. You can never just do one thing on your own. Like, even if it's like you started the deal, it always has to like go around the entire team, and you're gonna collaborate with everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. And I guess finally, as we can kind of wrap it up, what is one message like you would like to leave with the students who are figuring out their own career journeys right now? Just like one thing you'd like to say to them.
Keeping that open mind.
Yeah, keep an open mind. Don't be afraid to start. I know I've said that a lot, but you'll never know unless you try. Don't be discouraged if something doesn't work right away. Just figure out why it didn't work, and then reevaluate and go after it again if you're that passionate about it. But just failure isn't necessarily a failure. It's just a learning step on the journey. So just give it a shot.
Yep. And with that, I think we'll end it there. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank y'all.
Bailey Moore and Mr. Tyler.
You got it.
Kornhouser.
Thank you guys. You guys are doing great. So.
Yeah.